Well, this past weekend, the Gamecocks had their prospect camps, and it started with a nice swimming pool party, having some fun, cooking out and all that good stuff. Well, it must have paid off because the Gamecocks cashed in on 4 big commitments that's going to join their program. And when you're talking about recruiting, you talk about commitment. I talk about my partner, J.C. Schurburtt, 24/7 national analyst at BigSpur.com as well. J.C., the Gamecocks did well this weekend in recruiting. Maybe that whole impromptu paid off because maybe the recruits are fired up. They got some good players.
Absolutely, Corey. You know, I think these were 4 pretty good commits. You know, first of all, Chris Smith, the athlete out of South Point High School in Rock Hill. Of course, the Gamecock fans are no stranger to South Point. Stephon Gilmore, Jadeveon Clowney, Devontae Holloman all came from that school. Gerald Dixon still on the team. He's from South Point. Good player, under the radar developmental prospect. Then Akeem Cooperwood, a massive offensive tackle from Georgia Military College, another place the Gamecocks have gotten players from over the years. A guy that could play guard, could play tackle. Probably highest upside is somewhere between Corey Robinson and Rokevius Watkins. He's that kind of offensive lineman, right tackle most likely. And then P.J. Blue from Montgomery, Alabama. You know, this kid had an early offer from Auburn, from the old defensive staff. Doesn't really fit what Auburn wants to do under Muschamp at linebacker, but can come to South Carolina, play safety, spur, nickel, grow into a linebacker. 6'2", 217, could be 235 pounds by the time it's all over. And then Marlon Character, a defensive back from Atlanta Grady, came to South Carolina, was favoring Auburn, left South Carolina, was favoring South Carolina, got back home, called Lorenzo Ward and said, I'm going to commit to South Carolina. 6 foot, 176 pounds, out of Grady High School in Atlanta. A guy that a lot of folks were recruiting as a safety. South Carolina's going to give him a look at corner to begin with. Certainly has the skill set to fit into a boundary type position there. I think long term he will be a safety, but first look at South Carolina will be as a cornerback, and that put the Gamecocks over the edge for the commitment.
Well, you got some good football players adding to that roster, and Steve said, hey, you know what, we're starting to recruit well again. Now, when you're talking about an athlete, I want to look at real quickly Chris Smith, the guy out of South Point High School. We're up there for the Jadeveon Clowney camp and Stephon Gilmore a few weeks ago, maybe about a month ago. And I think he was out there running around, but good-looking kid, good speed. You got to have that kind of guy now in today's game that can run jet sweeps, can play receiver, kind of that Pharaoh Cooper guy. If I would look at Pharaoh Cooper, I would say an athlete. Is Chris Smith in that type of conversation? And you smile, that must mean no.
It's hard to compare somebody to Pharaoh Cooper. You know, of course, Pharaoh Cooper, though, was under the radar, a 2-star prospect.
Exactly.
Until he went to the Shrine Bowl and was the MVP there as a receiver. Still, most people were saying he's going to play corner, so he ended up being a 3-star prospect because you got to project him at a new position. Came to South Carolina as a corner, and then they put him at receiver, of course, and then the rest is history, as they say. You know, Chris Smith, what I like about him, it's not so much that he's blazing fast in a straight line. It's that he's super quick and elusive. He's a guy that can kind of make a guy miss in a phone booth, so to speak. Also, that means great hips, which means you can play cornerback. You know, I don't ever think it's a bad idea for a program, if you're going to go get an athlete, a versatile guy, a developmental guy, to go to Rock Hill, especially South Point High School, and get a player like that. So I think you got to have guys like that, especially this cycle when the Gamecocks were sort of behind the 8 ball starting out. In-state kid, you know, why not? And a lot of Gamecock fans have said, and it's true, you know, Coach Simpson was a 2-star prospect coming out of Rock Hill High School. So that area is good to go mine the under-the-radar types.
Well, we know those guys are 2016 guys, won't be able to help South Carolina this year. But I want to talk about Nunez, whichever way you want to pronounce his name. I want to hear this when we start talking to ball coach here pretty soon about what's the correct pronunciation. I get that right here. But Nunez, can he, JC, you watch this guy throughout his recruitment. Real quick, we got 30 seconds here. Can this guy come in and compete with Connor Mitchell? Because this is a question I'm getting asked all the time. I don't know. I haven't seen him play. I've seen his highlights in high school, but I don't know in his first years he's ready to play right now.
Everybody loves to talk about the quarterback situation.
And normally the backup quarterback.
And I think because there's question marks, a lot of Gamecock fans are unnecessarily worried about it. I was told the other day, quarterback is not going to be a concern for this team this year, you know, from somebody that would know. So I think that when you look at it from that situation, I think Lorenzo Nunez has a role in the team. I think whether that's a wildcat or a change of pace quarterback, that's to be determined. Can he be the starter? All depends on how fast he picks up the passing game, and then how much better is he than Connor Mitch and Perry Orth at the end of the day running the plays.
Yeah.
You know, because I think he has an advantage over everybody else that he can run and do things with his feet, 6'3", 210, great athlete. It's the passing game. Can he end up being the guy that can run everything they need to run or most of what they need to run better than Connor Mitch or Perry Orth? So that's to be determined.
That is TBD, but when you're talking about reading the defense and knowing when that blitz is coming and the check off, the check down, all that stuff for a freshman to process and get it all out, I just don't know. And I'm going to beg to differ. There will be a quarterback concern with this football. We got football team. We have more coming up later on because Gamecock Chalk Talk coming right up. JC will be sitting there, and we'll talk more Gamecock football. That's going to do it for sports. We'll be back in a moment.